The planet Vela 7 was dying. Not from natural causes. Not from disease or famine or the slow death of its sun. It was dying because ships had come from the dark spaces between stars. Ships filled with creatures that took what they wanted and killed everything else. The Rin had lived on Vela 7 for 3,000 years. They were small beings, no taller than human children. Their skin was pale blue, almost see-through, and their large eyes were made for the soft light of their gentle sun. They had never known war. Their world had no predators. Their bodies were fragile, built for a planet with gravity so light that humans would feel like they could fly. Elder Tilo stood in the communications center of the last remaining city. Around him, the walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sounds of explosions came closer with each passing moment. "The shield will not hold much longer," said a young Rin named Pello. His voice was shaking. His thin hands moved across the control panel, but there was nothing more he could do. The technology of the Rin was built for science and art, not for war. "How many are left?" Tilo asked. His voice was calm, but his hearts were breaking inside his chest. 40,000. Perhaps less now. Pelo looked at the elder with eyes full of tears. "The raiders have destroyed the northern settlements. The eastern farms are burning. Our people are hiding in the underground shelters, but the raiders have weapons that can dig through stone." Tilo closed his eyes. He remembered when Vela 7 was beautiful, when the crystal towers caught the morning light and sang with the wind, when children played in gardens that stretched for miles, when his people laughed and created art and studied the stars. Now the towers were broken. The gardens were ash. The children were hiding in dark holes, crying for parents who would never come back. "Elder," Pilo said suddenly, "there is one thing we have not tried." "What is it?" "The old signal. The one we received 50 years ago." Tilo opened his eyes. He remembered. 50 years ago, a strange transmission had reached Vela 7 from a distant part of the galaxy. It was a message from a species called humans. They had sent greetings to the universe. They had shared music and images and mathematics. They had said they came in peace and wished to meet other life forms. The Rin had studied the signal with great interest. Humans were fascinating creatures. They came from a world that seemed impossible. A world with crushing gravity. A world filled with predators and poison and fire. A world where the ground itself shook and split open. A world where water fell from the sky and electricity struck from the clouds. The scientists of Vela 7 had been amazed that anything could survive on such a planet. They called it a death world. And the creatures that lived there? They called them Deathworlders. But the humans in the signal seemed friendly. They smiled in their images. Their music was sometimes soft and beautiful. They spoke of hope and exploration and friendship. The Rin had decided not to respond. They were afraid. What if these Deathworlders were dangerous? What if they came to Vela 7 and brought their violence with them? So they had stayed silent. They had watched the stars and kept their distance. Now Tilo wondered if that had been a mistake. "The humans," he said slowly. "You think we should call them?" "We have nothing else," Pello said. "The raiders will kill us all within days, maybe hours. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We have no way to fight back." He looked at the elder with desperate eyes. "The humans are Deathworlders. Perhaps they can do what we cannot." Another explosion shook the building. Somewhere in the city, Rin were screaming. Tilo made his decision. "Send the signal," he said. "Send everything. Our location. Our situation. Our numbers. Tell them we are dying. Tell them we need help. Tell them," he paused, struggling to find the right words. "Tell them that innocent people are being murdered, and we have no one else to ask." Pilo nodded. His hands moved across the controls. The communication system was still working, powered by the emergency generators deep below the city. The antenna on the roof was damaged but functional. "I am sending it on all frequencies," Pello said. "I am including the coordinates of Earth. The signal will take time to reach them, but it will reach them." "How long? If they receive it immediately?" If they have faster-than-light communication like the raiders? Perhaps days. If they must wait for the signal to travel naturally? Pilo's voice dropped. Years. Tilo felt his hope fade. Years. They would all be dead in years. They would all be dead in days. But he did not stop Pelo. He let the signal fly out into the darkness. It was a small act. A desperate act. The cry of a dying people into the uncaring void. The signal left Vela 7 at the speed of light. It passed through asteroid fields and dust clouds. It slipped past dead planets and burning stars. It traveled through the cold emptiness of space, carrying the voices of the Rin. It carried their fear, their pain, their hope. And then something amazing happened. The signal found a relay station. An old piece of technology left behind by a species long dead. The station was still functioning. Still doing its job after 1,000,000 years. It caught the signal, strengthened it, and sent it forward at speeds beyond light. The signal jumped across the galaxy. It bounced from relay to relay, from system to system, from star to star. 3 days after Pelo pressed the button, the signal reached the outer edges of a solar system with 8 planets. It passed a giant ringed world. It passed a red planet with ancient rivers carved into its surface. It approached a small blue world covered in water and clouds, Earth. The signal hit a network of satellites orbiting the planet. Computers analyzed it. Programs translated it. Within seconds, the message was decoded. Help us. We are dying. Raiders are killing our people. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We are 40,000 lives. And we will be nothing soon. Please. If anyone can hear this, please help us. The message went to a building in a city called Seoul. It went to a department that handled communications from space. It went to a young officer named Sergeant Minji, who was drinking coffee and checking her screens like she did every night. Minji saw the message appear on her screen. She read it once. She read it twice. Her coffee cup fell from her hand and shattered on the floor. She reached for her phone and called her superior officer. Sir, she said. Her voice steady despite her shaking hands. We have received a distress signal. Alien origin. They are asking for help. Sir. Sir. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Send it to Admiral Kang immediately, the voice said. And wake up the fleet. On Vela 7, the Rin continued to die. Elder Tilo sat in the communications center, listening to the sounds of his world ending. He did not know if his message had been received. He did not know if anyone had heard, but somewhere in his chest, in the space between his two hearts, a tiny flame of hope still burned. Someone had heard, and they were coming. Admiral Kang Do-hoon had not slept in 36 hours. He stood in the command center of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at the massive screen that covered the entire wall. The screen showed the message from Vela 7. It showed the faces of the Rin, small and frightened, their large eyes filled with terror. It showed images of burning cities and broken buildings. It showed the ships of the raiders hanging in the sky like dark clouds. Do-hoon was 62 years old. He had gray hair cut short in military style. His face was lined with wrinkles earned through decades of service. His eyes were hard, but not cold. They were the eyes of a man who had seen too much death and had sworn to stop it whenever he could. How many ships do we have ready? He asked. 12 carriers, sir, answered Commander Jiho. Jiho was younger, in his 40s, with broad shoulders and a scar running down his left cheek. He had earned that scar fighting pirates in the asteroid belt 10 years ago. 42 destroyers, 80 support vessels. The 9th Expeditionary Fleet is fully operational. Crew? 100,000 personnel, all trained, all ready. Do-hoon nodded slowly. He looked at the screen again. The Rin Elder was speaking. His voice was translated by the computer, and Do-hoon could hear the desperation in every word. They are peaceful beings, said a voice behind him. Do-hoon turned. A woman walked toward him. She was tall and thin, with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her name was Dr. Park Salmon, and she was the chief scientist of the First Contact Division. They have no weapons, Salmon continued. No military. No history of violence. Their planet has no predators. Their gravity is 1/3 of Earth's. Their bodies are fragile. A fall that would bruise a human child would kill them. And the raiders? Salmon's face darkened. We have encountered their kind before. They call themselves the Vok. They travel from system to system, taking resources and slaves. They are strong, much stronger than humans, physically. Their technology is advanced. They have shields that can stop most energy weapons. Most energy weapons, Dohun repeated. But not all? No, not all. Salmon handed him a tablet. Our kinetic weapons would work. Bullets. Missiles. Things that hit hard and fast. The Vok shields are designed to absorb energy, not physical impact. Dohun smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then we will hit them very hard and very fast. Admiral, Salmon said carefully, I must advise caution. The Vok are dangerous. This could be a trap. We do not know these Rin people. We do not know if they can be trusted. 40,000 people are dying, Dohun said. They asked for help. That is enough for me. He turned to Jiho. Prepare the fleet. We leave in 12 hours. The next 12 hours were chaos. Ships were loaded with weapons and supplies. Soldiers were pulled from their beds and given orders. Pilots ran to their fighters. Engineers checked every system twice, then checked again. In the main hangar of the carrier Heaven's Fury, Captain Yuna gathered her soldiers. Yuna was 35 years old. She was not tall, but she was strong. Her body was built through years of training in Earth's heavy gravity. She could run for hours without stopping. She could fight for days without rest. She had broken bones and kept fighting. She had been shot twice and refused to fall. Her soldiers loved her because she never asked them to do anything she would not do herself. Listen up, she said. Her voice echoed through the hangar. 300 soldiers stood before her, their faces serious. You have all seen the message. You know why we are going. She walked among them, looking at their faces. She saw fear in some, anger in others, determination in most. The Rin are not like us, she continued. They are small. They are weak. They have never known violence. They have never had to fight for their lives. They do not understand what it means to be born on a world that tries to kill you every single day. She stopped walking. She stood in front of a young private named Tae-woo. He was barely 20 years old, fresh out of training. His hands were shaking slightly. Private Tae-woo, she said. Tell me about Earth. Tae-woo blinked. Sir? Tell me about our home. What kind of world is it? Tae-woo thought for a moment. It is difficult, sir. The gravity is strong. The weather is violent. There are storms and earthquakes and floods. There are predators that hunt in the night. There are diseases that kill millions. There is heat that can cook a person alive and cold that can freeze them solid. Yuna nodded. And yet we survived. Yes, sir. More than survived. We thrived. We conquered every corner of our world. We climbed the highest mountains. We dove to the bottom of the deepest seas. We walked into volcanoes and deserts and frozen wastelands. We faced every danger our planet could throw at us, and we won. She turned back to address all her soldiers. That is what we are. We are the children of a death world. Our ancestors fought tigers and bears and wolves. They hunted mammoths with spears. They sailed across oceans in wooden boats. They survived ice ages and plagues and wars. Her voice rose. Every single one of you carries that history in your blood. You are the product of millions of years of survival. You are stronger than you know, faster than you know, more dangerous than you know. She pointed at the screen showing the burning cities of Vela 7. Out there are creatures called the Vok. They think they are powerful. They think they are unstoppable. They attack worlds that cannot fight back. They kill people who cannot defend themselves. Her eyes hardened. They have never faced humans before. They have never faced Deathworlders. They do not know what it means to fight against creatures who evolved on a world of predators and poison and fire. She drew her sidearm from its holster and held it up. We are going to teach them. We are going to show them what happens when you hurt innocent people. We are going to make them regret every life they have taken. The soldiers before her were no longer shaking. Their eyes were bright. Their jaws were set. They were ready. When we arrive at Vela 7, you will follow orders. You will protect the civilians. You will show mercy to those who surrender. Yuna paused. But to those who continue to fight, to those who keep killing innocents, you will show them no mercy at all. A roar went up from the soldiers. 300 voices joined as one, a sound of fury and determination that echoed through the hangar and into the halls beyond. Admiral Dohun heard the roar from his position on the bridge. He smiled. "Sir," Jiho said, "the fleet is ready. Then let's go save some lives." The ships of the 9th Expeditionary Fleet powered up their engines. They rose from the surface of the moon, where humanity had built its greatest shipyard. They formed into perfect formation. 12 carriers surrounded by destroyers and support ships. And then, with a flash of light that lit up the darkness of space, they jumped into hyperspace. They were coming, and they were angry. On Vela 7, another city fell. Another 10,000 Rin died. Elder Tilo clutched his communication device and prayed to gods he was not sure existed. He did not know that help was on the way. But it was. And the Vok would soon learn that some signals should never be answered. Some prayers should never be heard. Because when the children of Earth go to war, the universe itself trembles. The Vok War Master Graal stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched Vela 7 burn. He was massive, standing nearly 3 meters tall. His skin was thick and gray, like stone. His 4 arms were covered in scars from 100 battles. His eyes were small and black, set deep in a skull that looked like it was carved from rock. Graal had conquered 17 worlds. He had taken millions of slaves. He had killed so many beings that he had stopped counting long ago. The weak existed to serve the strong. This was the only law he knew. The Rin were the weakest creatures he had ever found. They broke so easily. They screamed so beautifully. They had treasures buried in their cities, precious metals and crystals that would make him rich beyond imagination. "How many remain?" he asked his second-in-command. A smaller Vok named Dren. "Approximately 30,000, Dren answered. "They are hiding underground. Our diggers will reach them within 2 days." Graal smiled. His teeth were like knives. "Good. Take the young ones alive. They will sell well in the slave markets of the Outer Rim." "Yes, War Master." An alarm suddenly screamed across the bridge. Red lights flashed. Officers ran to their stations. "What is this?" Graal demanded. "Ships, War Master," Dren shouted. "Ships emerging from hyperspace." Graal turned to the main screen. He watched as points of light appeared in the darkness above Vela 7. First 1, then 5, then 20, then more. More. And more. Until the sky was filled with them. "How many?" Graal asked. His voice was calm. He was not worried. No species in this sector had the power to challenge the Vok. 134 vessels, Dren said. His voice was less calm. 12 are very large. Carrier class. Their species? Dren checked his scanners. His face went pale. "Unknown, War Master." "Wait. We are receiving a transmission. Put it on screen." The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was strange. Soft skin. Not armored at all. 2 small eyes instead of the proper 4. Hair on top of its head. Gray in color. It looked fragile. Breakable. The creature spoke. Its voice was translated by the ship's computer. "This is Admiral Kang Do-hoon of the United Earth Defense Force. You are attacking a civilian population that has committed no crime against you. You will cease your assault immediately and withdraw from this system. If you do not comply, we will be forced to remove you." Graal stared at the screen. Then he began to laugh. It started as a low rumble in his chest. Then it grew louder and louder until it filled the bridge. His officers looked at each other nervously. But some of them began to laugh too. "What is this?" Graal said when he finally stopped. What pathetic species sends ships to challenge the Vok? He leaned forward in his command chair. Little creature, he said. I am War Master Graal. I have destroyed worlds. I have crushed armies. I have killed billions. You come here with your tiny fleet and your soft skin, and you dare to threaten me? On the screen, the human called Dohun did not react. His face stayed calm. His eyes stayed cold. I will enjoy killing you, Graal continued. I will enjoy taking your ships apart piece by piece. I will enjoy making your people into slaves. Your women will serve in my halls. Your men will die in my mines. Your children will. You have 5 minutes, Dohun interrupted. After that, we attack. The screen went dark. Graal stared at the empty screen. His smile faded. No one had ever interrupted him before. No one had ever dared. War Master, Dren said nervously. Perhaps we should scan their vessels more carefully. We do not know their weapons or their capabilities. I know everything I need to know, Graal said. His voice was hard. They are small. They are weak. They come from a primitive world we have never even heard of. They are nothing. He stood from his chair. All ships, battle formation, destroy these insects. The Vok fleet moved. 23 warships, each one massive and covered in weapons. They had conquered 100 worlds with these ships. They had faced every species in this sector of the galaxy, and won. They formed a wall of metal and fire between the human fleet and Vela 7. Open fire, Graal commanded. Energy beams shot across space. Plasma cannons roared. Missiles screamed toward the human ships. And then something strange happened. The human ships moved. They moved in ways Graal had never seen before. They spun and twisted and rolled through space like living things. The energy beams missed. The plasma shots went wide. The missiles exploded harmlessly against shields that seemed to absorb the impacts. What is happening? Graal demanded. Why are we not hitting them? They are. Too fast, War Master, Dren said. His voice was shaking now. Their ships are moving at speeds our targeting systems cannot track. Impossible, but it was not impossible. It was simply human. Human ships were designed for speed. Human pilots trained in simulators that would kill a Vok from the G-forces alone. Human reflexes were faster than any species the Vok had ever encountered. Human eyes could track movement that other species could not even see. The human fleet cut through the Vok formation like a knife through water. On the bridge of the Heaven's Fury, Commander Jiho watched the battle unfold on his tactical screen. All fighter squadrons launched, he reported. Destroyers moving to flanking positions. Carriers providing covering fire. Admiral Dohun nodded. Target their engines first. I want them unable to run. Then target their weapons. I want them unable to fight. And then, sir, then we board them and take them apart from the inside. The human ships opened fire. But they did not use energy weapons. They did not use plasma or lasers or any of the weapons the Vok expected. They used kinetic weapons. Railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles packed with explosives. Cannons that shot shells made of depleted uranium. The first slug hit a Vok destroyer at nearly 1/10 of the speed of light. The shield did nothing. The shield was designed to absorb energy, to spread it across the hull and dissipate it safely. But this was not energy. This was mass. This was a piece of metal moving so fast that it carried the force of a small nuclear bomb. The destroyer exploded. 1 second it was there. The next second it was a cloud of burning debris. Graal watched in horror as a second destroyer exploded. Then a third. Then a fourth. Return fire, he screamed. Kill them. Kill them all. But his ships could not hit the humans. They were too fast, too agile, too well trained. The Vok had spent centuries conquering weak species who barely fought back. They had forgotten what it was like to face a real enemy. The humans had not forgotten. The humans had spent their entire history fighting each other, fighting their world, fighting everything that tried to kill them, and they were very, very good at it. On the surface of Vela 7, Elder Tilo heard the explosions in the sky. He ran outside the communications center and looked up. The darkness was filled with fire. Ships were burning. Lights were flashing. The raiders, who had brought death to his world, were dying. "What is happening?" Pello asked, running up beside him. Tilo watched as another Vox ship exploded, then another, then another. "They came," he whispered. "The Deathworlders came." Tears ran down his pale blue face. They actually came. In orbit, Graal finally understood that he was going to lose. 8 of his ships were destroyed. 5 more were crippled. The human fleet had barely been scratched. They moved through his formation with ease, destroying everything they touched. "War Master," Dren said desperately. "We must retreat. We cannot win this fight." Graal opened his mouth to give the order. But before he could speak, a human voice filled his bridge. "Attention Vok vessels. This is Captain Yuna of the Heaven's Fury. We are boarding you now. Resistance will be met with lethal force. Surrender, and you will live. Fight, and you will die. The choice is yours." Graal looked at his screens. Human ships were attaching to his hull. Human soldiers were cutting through his walls. The Deathworlders were inside his ship, and they were hungry for blood. Lieutenant Hana was the first human to set foot on a Vok warship. She came through the breach in the hull with her rifle raised and her heart pounding. Behind her came her squad, 12 soldiers armed with weapons designed to kill things much larger and stronger than humans. The corridor was dark. The air smelled like metal and something else. Something that reminded Hana of burned meat. "Move forward," she ordered through her helmet radio. "Watch the corners. They're big, but they're not slow." Her squad moved in perfect formation. They had trained for this. They had practiced boarding actions 1,000 times. They knew how to clear a corridor, how to check a room, how to cover each other's backs. The first Vok appeared from a side passage. He was huge. Nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin-like armor. He carried a weapon that looked like a combination of axe and gun, and he swung it at Hana with enough force to cut a car in half. Hana was not there when the weapon landed. She had already moved. Jumped to the side, rolled across the floor, came up firing. Her rifle was designed to punch through body armor. Against Vok skin, it worked even better. 3 shots hit the alien in the chest. He staggered. She fired 3 more. He fell. "Contact eliminated," she reported calmly. Moving forward, the humans pushed deeper into the Vok ship. They encountered resistance everywhere. The Vok were warriors. They had fought many battles. They knew how to defend their territory. But they had never fought humans. The Vok were strong. A single Vok could lift a human over his head and throw them across a room. But humans were fast. They moved in ways the Vok could not predict. They ducked and weaved and rolled. They used the Vok's strength against them, letting the big aliens tire themselves out with missed swings. The Vok were tough. Their skin could stop a blade and resist most energy weapons. But humans used kinetic weapons. Bullets and explosives and blades made of materials harder than Vok skin. Every shot found its mark. Every hit did damage. The Vok were fearless. They had never run from a fight in their lives. But humans were relentless. When a human went down, another took their place. When a squad was pinned, another squad flanked around. The humans never stopped. They never paused. They just kept coming. Private Taewoo found himself face to face with a Vok twice his size in a narrow corridor. The Vok grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Taewoo felt his windpipe closing. He felt his vision going dark, but he did not panic. He pulled the knife from his belt and drove it into the Vok's eye. The alien screamed and dropped him. Taewoo hit the ground, rolled, grabbed his rifle, and put 6 rounds into the creature's chest. "You okay?" asked Sergeant Byung-hee, running up beside him. "Fine," Taewoo said, rubbing his throat. Big bastard had a strong grip. "They all do. Keep moving." On the bridge of Graal's flagship, the War Master listened to the reports with growing horror. "They are on Deck 7. Deck 4 has fallen. Engineering reports heavy fighting. We have lost contact with the armory." Graal could not understand it. The humans were smaller, weaker, fewer. How were they winning? He did not know about Earth. He did not know about a world where everything tried to kill you. He did not know about millions of years of evolution that had turned humans into the perfect survivors. He did not know about endurance that let humans chase prey for days without stopping. He did not know about reflexes honed by dodging predators in ancient forests. He did not know about the ability to think, to plan, to adapt, to overcome. He did not know that humans were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. But he was learning. Captain Yuna led the assault on the bridge personally. She stood outside the heavy doors with 20 soldiers behind her. The doors were thick, strong, designed to withstand attacks. "Breaching charge," she ordered. A soldier stepped forward and placed a shaped explosive on the door. Everyone stepped back. The charge exploded. The doors flew inward. Yuna was through the gap before the smoke cleared. Grawl was waiting for her. He was the biggest Vok she had ever seen, and he held a blade that was taller than she was. He roared and swung the blade in a massive arc. Yuna slid under it. She came up inside his guard, too close for him to use his weapon effectively. Her knife was in her hand. She drove it into the joint between his arm and his shoulder. Grawl screamed. He tried to grab her with his other arms, but she was already moving, dancing around him, striking again and again, finding the weak points in his natural armor, making him bleed. "You think you can kill me?" Grawl roared. "I am War Master. I am undefeated." "You were undefeated," Yuna said. Past tense. She feinted left, then went right. Her blade found the soft spot under his jaw. She pushed it in deep. Growl's eyes went wide. He tried to speak, but only blood came out. He fell to his knees. Then he fell forward and did not move again. Yuna stood over his body, breathing hard. Her armor was covered in blood. Her arms ached. Her legs were shaking with exhaustion. But she was alive, and he was not. "Bridge secured," she reported through her radio. "War Master eliminated." Throughout the Vok fleet, the story repeated itself. Human soldiers tore through alien ships with unstoppable determination. They fought in corridors and engineering bays and cargo holds. They fought hand to hand when their ammunition ran out. They fought until every Vok was dead or surrendered. 3 Vok ships managed to escape into hyperspace. They fled like frightened animals, running from the small creatures who had destroyed their fleet. The remaining Vok on the surface of Vela 7 received one final message from their dying commanders. "The Deathworlders are coming. Run or die." They tried to run. The humans did not let them. Drop ships fell from the sky like rain. They landed near the Vok ground positions, and soldiers poured out. They moved through the ruined cities of Vela 7, hunting the raiders who had caused so much death. Hana led her squad through a burning building. They found a group of Vok hiding in a basement. The aliens raised their weapons. "Surrender," Hana said. "This is your only chance." One of the Vok laughed. "We do not surrender to prey." He raised his weapon. Hana shot him in the head. The other Vok dropped their weapons immediately. "Smart choice," Hana said. "Restrain them." By the end of the day, the battle was over. 23 Vok warships had entered the fight. 3 had escaped. 20 were destroyed or captured. Over 15,000 Vok soldiers were dead. 2,000 more were prisoners. The human casualties were heavy but sustainable. 312 dead. 800 wounded. Every loss was felt. Every name was remembered. But they had won. Admiral Dohun stood on the bridge of the Heaven's Fury and looked down at Vela 7. The fires were dying. The guns were silent. The Rin were finally safe. "Sir," Jiho said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. It is Elder Tilo. Put him through." The screen showed the pale blue face of the Rin Elder. His eyes were filled with tears. His lips were trembling. "Admiral," Tilo said, "I do not. I cannot. How can I thank you?" Dohun smiled gently. "You do not need to thank us. You asked for help." "But why?" Tilo asked. "You do not know us. We are strangers. We have nothing to offer you. Why did you risk so much for us?" Dohun thought about the question. He thought about Earth, about all the times humans had hurt each other, all the wars and crimes and cruelties of their history. But he also thought about all the times humans had helped each other. All the heroes and saints and ordinary people who had stood up for strangers, who had risked everything to protect the innocent. Because that is who we are, he said finally. We are Deathworlders. We are dangerous. We are violent. But we are also kind. And when someone needs help, we answer. The screen showed Tilo crying openly now. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. The transmission ended. Do-hun turned to look out the viewport at the stars. The universe was vast. It was cold. It was full of creatures who preyed on the weak. But now, those creatures knew something new. They knew that somewhere out there was a small blue planet, and the children of that planet would come for anyone who hurt the innocent. The Deathworlders were watching, and they would always answer the call. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Do-hun walked on the surface of Vela 7. The planet was beautiful in a way that Earth could never be. The sky was a soft purple color, painted by a sun smaller and cooler than Sol. The air was thin but breathable, filled with the scent of flowers that humans could not name. The gravity was gentle, making every step feel like floating, but the beauty was marked by horror. Everywhere Do-hun looked, he saw destruction. Buildings that had once been towers of crystal were now piles of rubble. Gardens that had stretched for miles were burned black. Streets were stained with the pale blue blood of the Rin. Beside him walked Elder Tilo. The old alien moved slowly, his frail body struggling even in the light gravity. His eyes were red from crying. His hands trembled with exhaustion and grief. We have counted the dead, Tilo said quietly. 18,426. More than a third of our entire population. Do-hun said nothing. There was nothing he could say. The children, Tilo continued. The raiders took many children. We found some of them in the cages on the ships. But others. His voice broke. Others were already sold. Already taken to places we cannot reach. We will reach them, Do-hun said firmly. We have the coordinates of the Vox slave markets. We will find every child they took and bring them home. Tilo looked up at the human admiral. Why would you do this? You have already done so much. You have lost your own people to save us. Do-hun thought of the 312 names on the casualty list. 312 humans who would never go home. 312 families who would receive folded flags and words of condolence that could never be enough. Because it is not finished until every one of them is safe, he said. They walked in silence for a while. They passed groups of Rin who were digging through rubble, searching for survivors or bodies. They passed human soldiers who were helping, their strong arms moving stones that would have taken 10 Rin to lift. Captain Yuna was there, her armor still scarred from battle. She was kneeling beside a young Rin child, offering him water from a human canteen. The child was shaking, his eyes wide with fear. But he took the water and drank. Your soldiers, Tilo said, watching the scene. They fought like demons. I saw recordings from the battle. I saw what they did to the Vok. It was terrifying, yes, and yet now they are gentle. They help our wounded. They share their food. They carry our dead with respect. Tilo shook his head slowly. I do not understand. How can beings be so violent and so kind at the same time? Do-hun smiled sadly. That is the human condition. We contain multitudes. We can be monsters. We can be angels. Usually, we are both. They reached the center of what had once been the capital city. A crowd of Rin had gathered there. Thousands of them, pale blue faces looking up as the human admiral approached. Some were crying, some were silent, all of them were watching. Tilo led Do-hun to a raised platform. The elder turned to face his people, and Do-hun saw the weight of leadership on his frail shoulders. My people, Tilo said. His voice was amplified by a small device on his collar, carrying to every corner of the square. 3 days ago, we were dying. The raiders had destroyed our cities. They had killed our families. They had taken our hope. The crowd was silent. Not a single Rin moved. We sent a message into the darkness, Tilo continued. A cry for help. We did not know if anyone would hear. We did not know if anyone would come. He gestured toward Dohun. But they came. The humans came. The Deathworlders came. They crossed the stars to save us. They bled and died for people they had never met. He turned to face Dohun directly. Admiral Kang Dohun. On behalf of the Rin people, I thank you. On behalf of every life you saved, I thank you. On behalf of every child who will grow up because of what you did, I thank you. He bowed. It was a deep bow, his forehead nearly touching the ground. Behind him, thousands of Rin did the same. A sea of pale blue bodies. Bowing to a single human, Dohun felt his throat tighten. He stepped forward and gently lifted Tilo to his feet. Please, he said. Do not bow to us. We are not your masters. We are not your gods. We are just people who could not stand by while innocents suffered. He turned to address the crowd. People of Vela 7. My people came here because you asked for help. We came because it was the right thing to do. We did not come to conquer. We did not come to rule. We came to protect. And now, our protection is complete. He paused, looking out at the thousands of alien faces. But I want to offer you something more than protection. I want to offer you friendship. My people have learned something over our long history. We have learned that the universe is cold and dangerous. We have learned that survival alone is not enough. We have learned that we need each other. He reached out his hand to Tilo. The humans of Earth would be honored to call the Rin our friends, to trade with you, to learn from you, to teach you, to stand beside you whenever you face danger. His voice grew stronger. And I promise you this, as long as humans draw breath, no one will ever harm your people again without facing our wrath. Tilo took the human's hand. His grip was weak, his fingers delicate. But the gesture was strong. The Rin accept your friendship, he said. With all our hearts, with all our hope, we accept. A sound rose from the crowd. It started as a low hum, then grew louder and louder. It was the Rin equivalent of cheering, a harmonic tone that filled the air with beauty. Thousands of voices joined together in song. Human soldiers looked up from their work. Some of them smiled. Some of them cried. After 3 days of death and destruction, the sound was like water to people dying of thirst. Lieutenant Hana stood at the edge of the crowd, watching. Private Taewoo stood beside her, a bandage wrapped around his bruised throat. What happens now? Taewoo asked. Hana shrugged. We help them rebuild. We hunt down the slaves that were taken. We make sure the Vok never come back. And after that? Hana looked up at the purple sky. Somewhere out there were the stars. Billions of stars. Each one potentially hiding species like the Rin. Species that might need help. Species that might be crying out into the darkness. After that, she said, we find out who else needs our help. And we help them too. Taewoo nodded. That sounds like a lot of fighting. Probably. Good. He touched the bandage on his throat. I have scores to settle. Hana smiled. We all do. In orbit above Vela 7, the human fleet was preparing to leave. Some ships would stay to guard the planet. Others would return to Earth to report what had happened. Others would hunt the escaped Vok ships and free the slaves they had taken. Admiral Dohun returned to the Heaven's Fury. He stood on the bridge and looked down at the planet one last time. Set course for the nearest Vok slave market, he ordered. We have work to do. The ship's engines hummed to life. The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. On Vela 7, the Rin began to rebuild. They cleared the rubble and planted new gardens. They mourned their dead and celebrated their living. They told stories of the day, the sky filled with fire, and the Deathworlders came to save them. In the slave markets of the Outer Rim, Vok traders heard rumors of what had happened. They heard about warships destroyed in minutes. They heard about soldiers who fought like machines and never stopped coming. They heard about a species called humans who came from a world of poison and predators and fire. They were afraid. And on a small blue planet circling a yellow sun, humanity continued, as it always had. People went to work and raised their children and lived their lives. Most of them did not know about the Rin or the Vok, or the battle that had been fought in their name. But some of them knew. The soldiers who had fought. The families who had lost loved ones. The leaders who had made the decision to answer the call. They knew that the universe was watching now. They knew that other species had learned what happened when you harmed the innocent. The Deathworlders would come, and they would not show mercy to those who preyed on the weak. This was the promise of Earth. This was the gift of humanity. Violence and kindness, wrath and compassion, the ability to destroy and the choice to protect. The Rin had called, and the Deathworlders had answered. They would always answer, until the last star burned out and the universe itself grew cold. The children of Earth would stand guard over the innocent. This was their purpose. This was their pride. This was who they were. Deathworlders. Humans. Heroes.